I would do one thing, on your console where it says more,
Yeah.
open that up and
Okay.
hit show non-video participants. In case there's anybody else that is just dialed in, which,
Participants. Oh, wait a minute. I hit more, but then it says, do I want to leave?
No.
Change view?
no, it would be, it's more down in the right-hand corner, I think. Trace, do you have the more capability there, just to make sure we bring in folks, who are non-video participants, if there are any?
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been bringing everybody in.
Good. Are there non-video participants though?
No, everybody's videos. They don't have them all turned on, but everybody's video so far.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Well, we're all live. Well, we're all live in public right now. So, okay. With that, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Finance for Monday, October 18th, 2021 to order. Before I go into the first item of business, it is incredibly good to see everybody in person. This is our first meeting since, I believe it was March 7th of 2020 in person. So I'm thrilled that we were able to pull this off, even though it's not in our typical location at the community center. It's nice to be together in the Selectmen's meeting room in the town hall. And I'm glad that most of us will be able to attend tonight because we will be having a bit of a longer new business this evening at the end of our meeting to celebrate one of our longtime members, Mr. Cameron. With that, first item on the agenda, public forum. Anybody wishing to address the Board of Finance in public forum? I'm looking at the screen. I don't believe there are anybody that's raising their hand or want to. So with that, we will move on to item number 2, approve minutes of our regular meeting of September 20th, 2021. Do I hear a motion to?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or corrections? I know I did have a couple. And this is when I'm going to take the glasses off because it's annoying, so I can't see it. On item number 3, approve minutes for August 16th. Mr. Beatty, were you part of that?
I was not.
You were not. Okay. I wasn't sure if you had joined the meeting a little bit late. I knew you did, but I wasn't sure when. So, okay. So that's okay as is. No change. Under number 5 on the vote, Trotta is misspelled, needs an A.
Always is.
There's another place for that too, I think I saw. Under item number 7, second paragraph, 6th line down, where it says there is more robust work going. So there are additional costs.
Where are you, Mike?
I'm on page 6.
Oh.
Yeah, item number 7. Maybe you know what? That should be going on. So there are additional costs. That'd be a little clearer. So doing. And page 7, near the bottom, second paragraph on the bottom in the first line, Mr. Beatty said, with regard to the technology aspect, the extent to which the town can improve technology. On the vote for under old business number 1, the second vote, Trotta is misspelled. Oh, and then the one after that. So Trotta just needs to be corrected in a couple of locations. Content-wise, that's all I have. Anybody have any other corrections?
I had one up
Go ahead,
at the
John.
very top of the minutes where it has town officials. It should be SBA Chair Dave DeMayo.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
Up at the very top of the minutes where they
Okay.
have the people present.
Okay.
It says SBA, and it should be Chair Dave DeMayo.
Oh, Chari.
Jerry.
Sorry.
instead of Chari.
Good.
I missed that.
Okay. Anything further?
Move acceptance.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, good. Moving on to item number 3, correspondence. It goes right to pension committee this month because building committee didn't, I think the building committee met no, I think they're meeting tonight. I think they pushed their meeting, it was last Monday and now it's tonight, so they're meeting the same time we are tonight. So we go right to pension. Anything on pension committee minutes or monthly report? I did not see any. Or anything under item number 2, OPEB minutes, monthly report. Nothing?
No.
Okay. Moving right through the agenda. Item number 4, review and accept report of expenditures for the Board of Education for September 2021. All right, now I gotta put the glasses back on and look at the screen. So Linda Trudeau, and I believe who would be our Board of Education reviewer? Well, is Moira on?
I don't see her, but she's there.
Okay,
Her name's on the-
I did see her come in. I saw her name come up. I don't know if she's still in the participants or not. Tracy, do you see her?
I see her. She's not on video and she's muted, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, with that being said, Linda, do you want to go ahead and start?
Sure. I can start.
Great.
So for the month of September, our expenditures were $4,945,232.40. Through the end of September, we were 21.44% of the budget compared to 21.15% in 2021 and 21.27% in 2019-20. If you notice on the report, we added another column for percentages because we felt that comparing this year to last year was not a valid comparison. So we added an additional column just to try and give us something better to compare it to. So that's something you'll see going forward is the additional comparison back to the 1920 year.
Great.
We did have some revenue in September, $29,440.80, of which $4,059.75 was for Medicaid, $25,356 for the pre-K tuition, and a small donation of $25.05 from Coca-Cola. You have the report. I didn't think there was anything all that out of the ordinary that occurred in September. There's a lot of bills that we paid. Once the teachers are back and they check in all the orders that came in over the summer, they start turning in all the invoices. So we had a large volume of expenditures for all the stuff that came in for the start of school. So our warrant was $2,356,979.57. And I can answer any questions that you have.
I have a couple.
Mr. Cameron.
A question about the tuition column.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why the tuition has dropped over the last 3 years. In 19, we had 32%. In 20, we had 19%. And in 21, we had 17%. What accounts for the drop?
So there's a couple of factors. One is the timing of the actual payments. We do have slightly less outplay students right now. And as we increase the budget over the last couple of years, that lowers the percentage expended at this time of the year. And I didn't send you, and I apologize, I didn't send a tuition report. And I can send it out to you tomorrow, but right now we are projecting to be under budget by just over $300,000 in the tuition line for this year. So right now, that's some good news for tuition.
And that's simply based on what we see now, not anything that could happen in the future in this fiscal year with students or moving in or anything like that.
I did put a small amount just as a reserve in there, just because there's a couple unknowns, but it's based on what we know right now.
I see that Ms. Rader has joined us. Hello. Yeah, I think you were. Hi. Ms. Trudeau started for you, but she went through the report real quick, but we'll grill you with questions if we have any. How's that?
I apologize. I had a child emergency, but I'm back.
It's okay.
So Linda, you went through the basics of the expenditures in the warrant, just the overall numbers.
Just the basics on the expenditures, and I gave them the total warrant.
Sure.
And then the only question that we started talking about was tuition and why that percentage is varying from this year to the previous 2 years.
Right. Okay.
And I see that textbooks were down by 25%. Is that a question of timing?
Yes, it is.
I had two questions for this evening, more general. I know the enrollment report should have been put in for October 1st. Have a summary or a update on that, on the enrollment report for this school year?
Yeah, we have we had an updated report submitted our last meeting to us. Our overall is, I'm just looking down at the numbers right here. We are estimated to be just about 3,071 students. We actually added a kindergarten section after the beginning of this year, which we kind of anticipated, given that with COVID, some parents held back on having their kids start. We have like a typical class size. I'm looking at our sections. We have a total of 13 kindergarten sections, 11 grade 1, 11 grade 2, 11 grade 3, and 11 grade 4. Going to the high school, at Baldwin, we're at 468 students. Adams, we're at 465. And at the high school, we're at 1,094 students. If you look at trends, we're actually trending far above what the last study that was done in 2015 predicted for us. We're actually over it by about 350 students. So let's see what else I can see here. Just flipping through our data.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Right, at this point, Mrs. Rader, how, when you say 300 odd, where do they expect, how far down do they expect us to be by now?
Well, the report had us at about 2713 in the 21-22 year, and we're at 3109. So I'm going to hold this graph, in case you don't have it in front of you, just into the screen. You see that
A trend line.
Right, they expect us,
the green line is our current trend, but the orange one is the one that was predicted.
right, and by now they expected us to be down 600-700?
Well, if you look at the overall, I'm looking here.
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
From the beginning, when we studied this in 15 until today, our actual in 14-15 was 3,400, and we're now down to 3,109. But we were predicted back then to be at 3,364 and down to 2,713.
Right.
So we're trending a lot higher than our neighboring
it's-
school districts and the ones in our DERG, which is good.
So we've lost about half of what they predicted. Okay.
And then my other question for this evening was about food service and how that's trending now with the new year.
Have more on that? I don't have more. comprehensive on
So
that.
for the month of September, there was a loss of $25,562. September is typically not the best month. There's a number of factors, one from the startup food costs and products that we need to buy, including small wares. There's also, and it tends to have a trend of a lot of parents are making lunches, especially for the younger kids in the start of school. The kids want to use their new lunchbox. They buy lunches a little bit more, and then it tends to pick up. But our meal counts have picked up tremendously. So we're hoping that this trend is going to continue and that we'll see better numbers in the next coming months. The reimbursement rate that we are getting for the free meals for all is a little bit higher that we were getting from the state reimbursement. So that should help us recoup some of the losses that we were seeing. The problem is right now is that there are major supply issues. We can't get food, we can't get the packaging products, we can't get a lot of things. So we are having to turn to some higher cost food items and some higher cost products. So hopefully it's not going to have a huge impact, but right now it's not looking very good for those items, those things.
And I know in our operations committee meeting, I had asked the questions about how breakfast is doing, and participation is up, and they're actually doing some reviews at both Baldwin and Adams to try to make participation a little easier. That bus run tends to be a little tight. It's the middle bus run, so kids can get there, 5 minutes before classes start. So just trying to maybe look at that and find a good way to get more participation with that.
Question,
Good.
as we all know, there's a national problem with bus drivers. I wonder how we're holding up. I don't see anything extreme in the numbers, but what are the trends? Are we well suited, or
Yeah.
are you being required to make adjustments on the routes? What's going on?
We actually had specialty attend our last operations meeting, and they gave us a nice thorough report on where things stand. They are doing well in terms of staffing. I know in the beginning they were condensing a couple of routes, but I think that they've adjusted that back to the normal route. And they're training several drivers right now. It's a long process. It's like a 6 to 8 week process, but they have all routes covered, and they actually have all their staff is also certified to drive buses. So in the event of an illness, they have kind of backup plans. So we're kind of unique in that, short of 1 or 2 staffing slots that could be filled, their report to us was that they're managing it fairly well for us, which is a unique thing, because just anecdotally, I know a lot of sporting events. For example, my daughter at Adams plays volleyball, and a lot of towns are canceling at the last minute coming to home games at Adams because they can't get a bus. They can't get a driver to bring the teams to their sporting events. And I haven't heard that we've had that issue yet, even with our athletics. So we're holding pretty well above comparable districts that are really struggling with this.
This may be in building and grounds, but how are things coming along with the capital improvements and the turf field replacement?
Good. We actually had some of those expenses show up here in our last warrant. I know they did a lot of concrete work at the new lower turf field, where those bleachers are, and did a lot of pad work there, and getting that all settled. We also did some sidewalk work. You probably noticed if you've driven by the high school. I know that there's the track is down partially. It's not complete. People thought it was complete and we're stepping on it, but it needs to cure for a good few weeks. But that's in good places, and I know they're staying on track. So it was a good report from Cliff. And like I said, we're seeing little expenses trickle in on, like I said, in some of the concrete work and some of the smaller things.
Thank you.
Yep.
So other than the supply chain issues, regarding anything outstanding in terms of COVID expenses that were not expected? I know we're kind of pretty well set up and we got our supplies, and there's nothing that's out of the ordinary in terms of what was not expected for any expenditures.
I don't think so. And actually, Linda had offered for our next month's meeting to prepare kind of an overall kind of outline of the ESSER grants and all the grant funding that we've received thus far and are planning for. So that'll be something that'll probably be available, I believe, next month, Linda, that we're gonna review that just to see, you know, where all that money fell.
Yeah, right now there's I think 6 grants that are all COVID related grants. So I figured it'd be best to provide a separate summary for those. So it'd be easier to track, you know, where all the funds have gone. And you'll get that next month.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else for the Board of Education?
I just want to thank Mr. Gammerman. I believe this might be his last official meeting, and he's just been a wonderful colleague to me and mentor, and I'm just valued the time that I've gotten to know him and spend with him. And so just wanted to make that little comment tonight in our meeting. I'm glad I'm here for it.
Good to hear that.
Thank you, Mark. Anything else for the Board of Education before we move on? Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to accept the report. I always do that. I hit it and then it goes off. There we go. Entertain a motion to accept the report of the fiscal year 2021-22 expenditures of the Board of Education for the month of September 2021 in the amount of $4,945,232.40.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rader. Thank you, Ms. Trudeau. Moving on to item number 5, review and approve the report of expenditures for town government for September 2021. Ms. Malaysi,
Good evening.
all yours.
We'll start with revenues.
Sounds good.
So through the first quarter of the year, we are tracking better than we were last year at this time, 53.5% compared to 48.3%. Couple items I wanted to bring to your attention. You'll see the revenue line in the Selectman's office of just shy of $30,000. That represents the first of the JCI energy performance rebates that came in based on the report that you were given last month. Of that, almost all of it belonged to the Board of Ed. So you'll see an expenditure in October that brings that back down. That particular rebate was 95% allocated to the Board of Ed and only 5% to the town based on what that rebate was for. So you'll see that come back down next month. The next line is tax collection. Last month, we showed that our tax collection seemed to be running low. There was a last-minute bank payment that came in the last day, which was allocated in September. So we brought that percentage right back up to 55.3%. So I don't have any issues with tax collection at this point. The next thing is golf. Not that there's a problem there, but it is less than last year. People are still out there golfing, maybe not as much as we were last year. A lot of people are back in their offices instead of sneaking out at lunchtime from their homes. But golf is still on track to meet their budget for this year. So that's always good news.
I would only add on that it's been a very tough weather season for golf.
Correct. Absolutely. It's been a little rainy.
Yeah, being a golfer, it's been very difficult to get out sometimes.
Absolutely. It's been a little rainy. And the last thing is Youth and Family Services, just that their revenue is much higher than it was last year. And she does report to us that her cases are still very high at this point. So we'll probably see that trend for some time. I don't know if you have any other specific questions.
Mr. Gammon.
I have two.
Yes, go ahead.
The drop in revenue for fire, it's about 20% under last year, 25% actually. And Public Works, I noticed the category being road inspection fees, and that's down from last year by about 26%. You comment?
Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Uh, So Public Works revenue is mainly driven by the stump dump. And last year we had storms that brought number of residents into the stump dump, bringing their debris. So the revenue is kind of back down where we would normally see it at this time. Fire, they're actually running a little higher than they were last year. You know, we tend to have a slow start at the beginning of the year until we start getting things going. But you know, I don't foresee any issue at all with the fire department at this point.
Is that all ambulance
Yes,
reported?
yes.
Just a quick note on the public works. It's not necessarily a bad thing that those revenues are down, because when those revenues are up, we need to contract for the grinder through a private contractor in order to break those materials down. And that has gotten somewhat expensive over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and the last thing we need is another storm. The last thing I want on my desk is another FEMA application. I've got enough of them. So it's not allowed to storm.
All right, keep that in mind.
Oh, you should not have said that.
Said that, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Rewind the recording.
I take that back.
Yeah. Anything else? Ken,
No,
did you?
that's it.
All right. Anything else on revenue?
I had one question, if I
Sure.
could. Planning and zoning seems to be operating at a brisk pace. Is there any reason for that? Are we getting more applications in, or?
Yes, there are a significant number of projects at the initial stages or just recently become official. There are at least 6 housing projects that are in some form of discussion or application, including one 100-unit location over across from the bus depot on Hubbard Road, which would be 100 units. You're probably familiar with a couple of the, you might not have seen them, but there are 2 on the western end of town, 20 to 30 units up by the Red Roof Inn, a couple of properties along there. The State Street project's another 25 units. There is anticipated to be another 20 to 22, depending on septic capacity, at the old Arrow Paving. So there's a lot of activity going on right now. I think George was tallying it up. It's close to 250 to 300 units of housing.
Wow.
That are in some form of contemplation or progress.
Watch those enrollment numbers climb.
Yeah.
Is that market rate or mixed use or?
The one on Hubbard is a friendly 830G affordable housing. So those will be all 1-bedroom places, so there probably won't be many kids in those. I'm not sure that there are going to be a lot of them that are kid friendly. This is probably going to be, I know the one on at the old Arrow Paving site is going to be closer to a 66 High Street than it is to something more pedestrian. State Street, they asked Planning and Zoning to pull the age restriction because that was one of those 55 and above. So that one has been pulled, so it's now open. And then, of course, there's one, the Village Gate West, which is the property across from the rock pile. You've seen the mining operation that's been going on. There are really 2 parcels. One of them is in back behind that, which was approved for 100 units of housing several years ago. That was also age restricted. That restriction has been pulled as well. So there's an awful, Jeff, you're absolutely right. There's an awful lot of activity going on.
That's good news.
Yeah, that's great.
That all 1-bedroom?
No, the ones up across from the rock pile are 2-bedroom, 2 and some 3, depending on the size. Could be family. 2, well, in this day and age, 2 bedrooms is about enough for a working couple, given the fact that they need an office to work remotely in. So.
That's a good point.
And then, of course, the other thing too is we've got some development going up off of Long Hill as well. There's a couple of developments up there. I think there's, anticipated to be 25 to 30 units up in that area as well. So.
Okay. Anything else on revenue? Expenditures.
Our expenditures are running just about where we expect them. After September 30th, we're about 31% expended compared to 29 last year at this time, but no issues here. I really don't have anything specific to point out, so I will just take questions from the floor.
Very well. Questions for Mary Jane? I did not have any. It's typical, it's somewhat early in the fiscal year, so.
Yeah,
When things trend, normally then.
it's good to be boring. I'm glad to
Yeah.
have them.
Boring expenditure reports are a good thing.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to the health department.
Yes.
Yeah. Do we want to just move down the list then? If there's nothing, unless anybody has anything to spend expenditures, we go to warrants. Anything on warrants?
Wait,
something on warrants?
But, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just one thing. Mary Jane, we have, in places like Youth and Family Services, where we brought on additional personnel in July that was not budgeted, that will be covered by the American Rescue Plan.
Mhm.
So there are some inflated numbers in there. I think there was some stuff from Park and Rec. And have we actually moved the money that was allocated or approved by this board and the Board of Selectmen?
No money will be moved until after November 1st.
Because that's a reporting period, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one question on page 1
Sure.
Of what?
of the warrants.
The
Special.
right.
The
Weekly?
$56,000, what does that apply to? That utility factor?
I need a little help knowing where I'm supposed to be looking.
Page 1.
Which one?
Which one?
Oh.
The special fund or the weekly?
So, this is a weekly.
Okay.
Patriot Corp. Prior year encumbrance.
Okay, well, I'm not finding the right one, but okay, here we go. Well, that would have been, prior year encumbrance would have been something that was carried over from last year. I'm just trying to find where that is. Oh, okay, so that was a purchase. As you can see, it's a purchase of the John Deere utility tractor. It was a carryover from last year, a purchase order that was issued last year. And the expenditure was made in the current year.
I just glanced quickly at the stadium turf field payment to H.I. Stone and Son. A little over 200,000. Then I compared it to capital. Looks like we still have a little bit more payment to go on that. So it's not the final one, even though it's pretty well.
I would hope so, because they're not finished yet.
Yeah, there's more to go.
I was out there today. They're not
Not done. Okay, good.
No.
Yeah, because I'm looking here.
Impact the season?
Yeah, they think they may be able to get the last couple of home games. The turf field itself is completed. Now they're working on the track, and they're prepared to put the rubber material on. That's what they were planning on today until a forklift broke. And then I don't think the goalposts were up yet. I don't think I saw the goalposts, so, but that's a minor.
I did have a quick question. Let's see, page 10. It's this scanning permits, $6,056. Is that current permits alone, or is that, or they're backlogging, they're scanning paper records like we wanted? Okay.
Yep,
Now,
like you said, they should do.
yeah. Does
I'm sorry,
anybody,
which one?
page 10
Of the
of the warrant,
warrant.
regular
Okay.
warrant,
Yep,
individual items.
sure.
And it's this Northeast micro image. And at the time, the interesting thing was that the state, under state rules, they said we could if you scanned it, it had to go into microfiche. Is that still the case?
It is still the case.
Yeah.
And it's one of the issues that I've talked to Sean and Christine about, and CCM.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably going to show up on our CCM's legislative agenda again.
Sure.
That alongside of some of these ridiculous arcane rules that the state has, like forcing us to put all our notices in a newspaper of local record. I mean, we have a newspaper comes out once a week.
Yeah.
And that limits sort of what we can
Yeah.
do. And then the
Yeah.
alternative is to go to the register, which is,
3 times the cost.
thank you. So there are just a couple of these things that we're trying to work through.
Yeah, so I'll just add to that by saying, the reason for scanning it in isn't necessarily for retention. It's more for use by the public
Access.
and the employees when they need to find some documents that would be right at the touch of their hands, not having to worry about going into the hard copy files.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anything else on warrants? Medical. Looks like, so August was July and August, and September was our first month that was reported in full, and a little bit more than what the anticipated claims would be.
Yeah, so we're still running on claims lower than budgeted as of this time, but you can see that our claims are, getting a little bit larger as our regular claims. Again, is it due to people going back to the doctor after COVID? Hard to know at this point in time. But last year at this time, we were estimating quite a large surplus at the end of the year. And if you remember, we ended up around 200,000 the end of last fiscal year. So expect that trend hopefully to continue this year as well. And we have gotten into our catastrophic claims as of September. There's 5 or 6 claims
Right,
making up that $574,000 of claims over 75,000. And 1 claim has hit the $150,000 threshold at this point.
Okay. Okay.
Mary Jane, just a quick question, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Yes.
If a claim is hit over 150,000, it may not be reflected in September, it might be October. But if a claim is hit 150,000, the anticipation would be the amount covered by ISL would be the difference between the 75,000 and the 150,000. Is it just a timing issue?
Well, first of all, it's anything over the 150. So that particular claim would have hit 164.2. But yes, it can be timing. Obviously, if if somebody went to the doctor the last day of the month, it may not be billed till the following month. But Anthem pulls from us weekly. So when I provide these records, I'm actually pulling from the first week into the following month, because that pulls from the week before, the prior weeks. So we try to make these as accurate as possible.
Thank you.
Anything else on medical? Anything on capital? Either the schools or the town side? These have been largely cleaned up. Mary
Yeah,
Jane,
so-
anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's why I'd like to note that if you look at Fund 216, which is the school capital project, the 5 projects that we closed out last year are no longer reflective in this report, making it slightly smaller. And I am looking in this current year to close out 2 or 3 bond authorizations on the town side, Fund 217. So those will come to you at some point during this fiscal year as well.
Thank you for the updates on that. All right. Anything further on anything under town government?
We're off to a good start on building permits.
Uh,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I need you to approve my warrant.
To
pay the bills.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm gonna give every vendor your phone number.
Mr. Gammerman jumped the gun on the permits. I wasn't quite right. I was all ready to entertain a motion, but he's excited. You know, he's going right through this meeting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Before we talk about permits, but we already did, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the report of expenditures of the town for the month of September 2021 in the amount of $2,542,174.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, refusal. Okay.
Thank you. I would just like to add my congratulations to Mr. Gammerman for his time on the board. Him and I have already spoken and exchanged pleasantries, but I just wanted to thank him publicly for all his great questions and his support throughout my time here. So thank you, Ken, and best wishes to you in the future.
You've been a real asset to the town, and we all appreciate you. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Item number 6, committee reports. Mr. Gammerman, anything you'd like to add?
We're off to a good start on building permits.
We're off to a very good start. Yeah, a very good start. Okay, moving on to item number 7 under old business. The only thing I wanted to bring up under old business was just to make sure it's on our radar for the town facilities site walk. I believe the last meeting we had targeted a date of November 15th. That was in our meeting minutes. Could someone remind me, maybe it's Mary Jane or Tracy or somebody, is the 15th our next meeting?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
The idea was, it would be the day of the meeting, so
It would
it's
be the
fresh
day-
in our minds.
Right, so we can go to the site visit, view the facilities that day and then come to our meeting.
And minimal drinking.
Maybe, and then maybe have a little dinner in between, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Not together. We gotta make sure that's clear.
right.
All right, so, yeah, we'll get that on, make sure we'll get that on the schedule for all of us. Okay, anything else under old business? Fantastic, because this is the part I'm looking forward to. Item number 8, new business. I believe that there's only one item under new business. Is there only one item under new business that we know of? And that's our discussion and our thanks and our celebration of Mr. Gammerman being on the board is it 29 years?
29 years.
29 years. Good.
29 years.
It's
Okay,
close
well,
enough.
We'll say
It's close enough.
it's close to 30. Close to 30. That's right.
Nearly
now he's
30
counting.
years.
Yeah, who's counting at that
With
point?
Now-
COVID counts. I feel like it counts 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now-
Yeah.
Now he's keeping track of numbers.
At this point, I do want to hand the floor over to our first selectman to make a presentation to Mr. Gammerman. Would you like this?
No, I don't want to sit. I've sat in that chair long enough,
Okay.
probably longer than I deserve to. If I did sit in that chair for as long as I did, it was largely because I had the pleasure of working with committed, passionate people about making this community a better place than when they found it. And there's no greater evidence of that than Ken Garriman. Sat to my right for, I think, 24 years when I was in your chair. And I always knew that he was prepared. I always knew he was going to ask the tough questions. But I always knew at the end of the day that he wanted to move this community forward. It has been my personal privilege to have worked alongside you, to have called you my friend, to have called you my colleague in what I think is the most noble of endeavors, and that is public service. And you have epitomized that in this community. And a plaque or these words are not enough to measure up to the contributions you've made to your community, my community, and our community. So for that, I thank you. And let me just read this to you. This is a certificate of appreciation on behalf of the town of Guilford, and it is awarded to Kenneth Gammerman with heartfelt thanks and appreciation for his dedication and service to the town of Guilford Board of Finance, 1993 to 2021. and signed and sealed by my name.
Thank you.
I want to.
Uh-oh.
I noticed earlier in this that Amy Garman was enjoying a glass of wine through the.
I saw it.
So I think
There we
the
go.
apple never falls far from the tree. And I know for a fact that you've been fond of scotch and
Yeah.
whiskeys,
Yeah,
and I hope this measures up.
Wow.
sure it will. Thank you.
I think we'd all like to have, say a few words. I just want to be very brief. I did not make any prepared comments. My prepared comments came during the town presentation because I wanted them to come from the heart. And this might be a little bit difficult for me to do. I've served on this board for 15 years, and it's amazing to think that 29, 30, however many years you've served on this board, I've been on this board for half of them. And I just didn't think that was possible. I would last that long on a board. And you have been a big reason that I have been, I've stayed on this board. I've been passionate about everything that I've done with this town. And it really is, I've been sitting, I've been sitting next to you just as long as well, not as long, but my entire tenure, you were sitting right next to me and mentoring me the entire time. You've been an unbelievable colleague, an unbelievable mentor, an unbelievable friend. And I look forward to we've discussed the fact that after service on the Board of Finance, you've got plenty of other things that you want to do, but
Hopefully.
I'm looking forward to whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner monthly, to keep you in tune what's going on. But I will just say that you have been, over the years that I've seen you, you've been direct with people on the board and the public, yet very respectful. You've been someone I've looked up to in that way. And you've been very contemplative. You've always been someone I can bounce every idea off of. And yet, when you make a decision, it's a firm decision. You don't waver from that decision. And it's just another way that I've looked up to you over the years. And so I just want to thank you for all your years of service. I wish I could have served on Board of Finance for all of those years, but I will take 15, and I will say it's been a very good run, and I will miss you incredibly on this board.
Well, I would miss you. And I want to address, may I speak?
You may.
Well, first of all, I would like to look at my Republican colleagues, and this is going to really make me feel old. And you guys feel young. But I remember serving on this board with Mr. Hartman's father,
You came in at the same time, 1993.
93.
Yeah.
And he was a mentor to me. He had been more active in town, and he was excellent. Also never minced words, also said what was on his mind.
No.
And I remember we weren't on the same board, but it was Moira reminds me that your dad was on the Board of Education. And we had a lot of connections with them too. So those were my first introduction to the board. The elder Beatty and the elder with the elder Gammer.
I'd like to respond actually, because I used to talk to Dad about this board and you, and he stopped in 2001, which is 20 years ago, and it says it bothers him that 20 years ago was in 2001 and not in the 80s. It doesn't sit well with him, it doesn't, but he always remarked about your attention to detail and your accuracy and your temperament, which is extraordinarily important, and your ability to get to the heart of the matter and make everybody comfortable with the question and getting the answer. He always looked up to you actually as somebody set a fine example for your family, and you're a wonderful reflection of your family. And he felt it was an honor to serve with you. And it is for me. It's been an honor and a privilege to be on the same board with you. And I look forward to you giving more service to the town in the American Rescue Plan.
And that's right.
With your father.
No, with him.
It stuck with me.
Wow.
Starting with you.
Yeah.
It is with Bob.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
many
I have a couple
congratulations.
more things to say.
Oh, here we go.
There you go. We'll go back and forth. We'll sprinkle. It's all about you
Is that
now.
okay?
Please.
Okay. I'll let anyone who's bored leave. Be offended. When I first, I came on the board 92, 93, okay, it's 93. And the first election, I remember the campaign, I said, I love this town. We moved into this town over 30 years ago, Martha and I. And we loved the town. We started to loving it, and it's been an affair that continues. And my campaign slogan, not a slogan, my campaign mantra was, I found a great town. I hope I can keep it that way. I hope I can make some contribution that would last and mean something. I remember way back, because I've always loved the green. Those of you who are staring out at the green might see me there occasional mornings. But I remember there was an attempt, innocent attempt, I think, to put advertising on the lampposts on the green. And I resisted that with all my fervor. I said, you can't do this to my town. You can't commercialize this town. This is not Times Square, you know? This is the town of Guilford. And we were able to win that one. It's nice to have a victory. It sort of strengthens you for more victories. Unfortunately, it isn't always that well. And as you walk around the green today, you see those plaques for the 375th anniversary. Well, I think we're moving toward the 400th anniversary. And this is a town I saw on TV, someone had celebrated the 225th anniversary of their town. I think it was Wolcott. Well, that's nothing compared to
Rookies.
that. They're just starting. And in keeping the town the way it was, but helping it to grow, I'm so proud, not that I did it, but I participated in a lot of stuff along with that and others. We watched the fire and police buildings go up. We watched the park and rec building go up. We watched the high school go up. And these are just a few of the things we're proud of. And there was a lot of intelligent planning and intelligent spending, and we've revised that a couple of times on the building of the high school to get to where we've saved money, and we continue to save money on the financing of it, which is wonderful. We've done some things here on this board that I'm very proud of. And again, I don't take the credit for it, but I'm happy I was here to participate in it. We provided tax advantages for seniors who are in need. We have provided closer workings with the two other boards, with the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education. And the one committee that I'm particularly proud of is the work with the Standing Building Committee, because a lot of the money gets spent through the Standing Building Committee, and they have been, especially with the current management of it, which is wonderful. I think that Dave DeMeo is terrific. And working closely, I hope that the board continues to work that way with the Standing Building, because it's important. So as we move toward these long-term goals and toward the 400th anniversary, maybe I'll be with you for the 400th. I'll try, but I know someday will be. And it's just been a pleasure and an honor, and I'm very proud of the friendships and the relationships that I've been able to develop with everybody here. And I do hope that we have another St. Patrick's Day celebration. How do we stand up?
Hopefully it will come back this year.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But I want to thank everybody and for all the gifts
Oh,
and all the acknowledgements. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
the thanks are to you.
Thank you.
That's right.
Anybody else
Well
have any
said.
business?
Ken, I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure working with you. I think you contributed a great deal to this committee in terms of your willingness to hear opposing points of view, to comment on them, to share your point of view. And it was representative from my perspective of the collaborative spirit that we all share as members of this board. I can't recall any real major dispute or disagreement amongst the members of this board. And I think that's in large part the result of the temperament of the people who volunteer their time to serve on this and their willingness to listen to different points of views and to respectfully disagree or persuade. And your demeanor and your willingness to listen and your attention to the detail to get to what the heart of the issue is goes a long way towards establishing that spirit of camaraderie. And I just want to thank you for that, because I think it's a very important element of what makes this and the other boards in this town function as successfully as they have. So I just want to thank you for
No
that.
party labels, just good citizens working together.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff.
Ken, I just want to add that I've only served with you for 4 years on the Board of Finance, but I've known you for years. And you are always the consummate gentleman, truly. You're full of goodness and kindness, and you've always been that way toward Guilford residents. But the thing that will stick out for me most was how you advocate for Guilford's children. I think education has always been a passion that you've had, and I think it comes through serving on the Board of Finance in particular. You're always advocating for our children. So my heartfelt thanks for all your years of service, and I wish you nothing but good health and happiness going forward.
Thank you.
I just want to add, so I actually first met you on the green. You may not remember, but you were walking. I was a runner at the time, no longer a runner, but you would walk the green and I would run the green. And I was new to town, didn't know a lot of people, but again, to echo Veronica's, your kindness just stood out, and your ability, your willingness to listen and your willingness to laugh and engage. And so getting to know you even beyond just the board, because obviously I haven't served with you that long, but just getting to know you over the years, I mean, you made me feel so welcome. I know you've made our family feel so welcome, and that's part of it, part of public service, even beyond just these board meetings. And so I'm incredibly grateful to you for that. And you also took the time when I was new on the board to sit with me and explain things, and I could always ask you questions, and you were always there to cheer us on and cheer us up if we were having a bad day. And I think that goes such a long way to speak to your character. And I think you always thought about the future generations, even if it wasn't necessarily what was best for you. You always put others before yourself. And I hope that I can continue to carry on somewhat of your legacy on this board and even just in my life. And I also notice you have a great relationship with Martha, and everybody I think that knows you knows that. So I will just say that Sean and I aspire to those marriage goals. So I want to thank you, and you have so much to offer beyond just this board, and it's been a pleasure to know you.
And I think we owe Martha a debt of gratitude for 29 years.
Before we go on to the next item, I do see that much of the Gammerman family is represented right now. Not everyone can see them because, when this is on GCTV or whatever, you only see the box of the person speaking, but the Gammerman family is well represented here. I'm just thrilled that you're all able to be part of this. Your father, your husband has been such a large component of this town. And I know you're very proud of him. We are very proud of him. And I know, knowing Mr. Gammerman, he's got another chapter that he's going to open now. And so we're very thankful that he's going to continue to serve. This is a citation for what he's done for this board. He's not done. We all know that. He's not putting up his shoes and saying, oh, it was a good ride. I'm going to ride off in the sunset. He's basically holding off the sunset. And we very much appreciate that on behalf of the town of Guilford. So.
Well, with the proper lubrication of.
That's right.
Just think, you can zoom into the next Board of Finance meeting while you're drinking scotch.
That's right. And kibitz from the public gallery.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for your comments. Mr. Hoey, thank you for
Oh, my pleasure.
all
And I
that.
have, I took some photos, but do we want to try to get a group photo?
Yeah.
We could see that, yeah.
Let
we
me
will
take
definitely
one
do
of
that.
you guys, because it's your board. Let me start with that, right?
We
You
can-
want to do it after we adjourn?
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
probably,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, well, we're just caught up in the moment, everybody.
Wow.
So that's all we have under new business. There's nothing else you can do in the meeting except for have public forum. So number 9 is public forum. Would anybody like to address the board in public forum? You do not have to, because the public is basically made up of the Gammerman family. It's perfectly fine.
Time to get even.
Remember, it's being recorded though.
Oh, hands up.
Is there a hand up? Oh,
Amy?
yes, please. Tracy, if you could do the unmute. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. Those are beautiful words, such a privilege to be able to be part of this meeting, even remotely. And we've all heard for so many decades now about the good work that the Board of Finance does. And I'm glad we got to be a small part of my dad's last meeting with you all. So thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Anyone else under public forum?
So tempted.
Okay. Otherwise,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all in favor?
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
This one?
Yeah, why don't you guys- why don't you-
Tracy, you could stop the recording.